Here's today's daily idiom. To air your dirty laundry. Usually, British people don't like to talk about our personal problems, but sometimes we feel the need to tell everybody about lots of gossip and things going on in our lives, arguments with friends or issues with family. We want to tell people all of the details. In the past, British people always thought you shouldn't air your dirty laundry. But nowadays, with things like TikTok and social media, people can talk about their problems much more openly. And young people are much more keen to air their dirty laundry, rant about problems with their friends, things they are unhappy with in their lives. What do you think? Do you like to listen and watch people air their dirty laundry in public, or do you find it uncomfortable to listen to their personal problems? Have you ever aired your dirty laundry in public on TikTok? For me personally, don't think I really enjoy doing something like that. Like, repost, and follow for more interesting information about British culture and language. Here's another daily idiom: to break the mold. This means to find a new way of doing something that completely changes how people have done it before. A new process or new idea that completely revolutionizes whatever it was happening previously. For example, some people say that generative AI has really broken the mold and completely changed the way they work. The first people to really understand how to use Gen AI in their jobs have managed to be really successful and completely change the way their companies operate. If you are somebody who is able to break the mold, then that gives you a lot of advantage when it comes to your reputation, your ability to find great new opportunities at work. Have you ever broken the mold at work? Have you ever found a new or better way of doing something and really impressed your boss and your colleagues? Here's today's daily idiom: to have the upper hand. This means to have an advantage in a competition or be more likely to win. For example, recently I was competing with my colleague for a promotion. The new position involved training new employees, and fortunately, I had quite a lot of experience with that already. So I had the upper hand, and eventually I got the promotion. Here's today's daily idiom: to take the bull by the horns. We use this idiom when we have a difficult problem to solve and we decide to try and resolve it once and for all and deal with it straight away. For example, due to the situation in the Middle East, there has been a big impact on stock markets around the world. Companies and financial organizations everywhere are having to deal with some big problems and they don't have much time to solve them. They have to take the bull by the horns and come up with some effective solutions to deal with increasing prices and market shocks. For example, to prevent stock market crashes in several countries, the president of the stock exchange issued a circuit breaker to prevent people from trading and causing even more widespread economic problems. Here's today's daily idiom: to dig your heels in. To dig your heels in means to refuse to go along with other people or do what they want you to do. Completely refuse 100%. For example, we had a meeting with one of our suppliers to renegotiate our contract. They asked for a huge 25% discount, but we dug our heels in and said, look, there's no way we can accept that. Even though they tried to persuade us, we refused. Notice that dig is an irregular verb. The past of dig is dug. We dug our heels in. Have you ever dug your heels in at work? For example, if your boss asks you to do overtime but you really don't want to, do you dig your heels in then, or do you accept what your boss asks you to do? Like, follow and repost this video if you found it useful. Here's today's daily idiom: to stick to your guns. If you have an idea or a goal that you are trying to reach and you don't let anybody stop you, you stick to your guns. This idiom is really useful at work when you are talking about trying to persuade people that your idea is a good idea and you don't let anybody's criticism stop you. I really like your proposal for integrating AI into our processes more, but I'm a bit concerned. AI is still very experimental and this technology could be quite expensive. Well, I agree with everything you're saying, but I think this is a high risk, high reward situation. I think if we invest in this technology and we stick to our guns, then eventually we will come out on top. Well, yes, that's a very convincing argument. I suppose we should look into it more, but I'm willing to go along with it for now. So, in order to convince people that you think something is a good idea, respond to their concerns, and persuade them to agree with you, you stick to your guns. Like, follow, and repost this video if you enjoyed watching this, and remember to keep coming back to my channel to learn more great English phrases. Here's today's daily idiom: to row your own boat. This means to take on responsibility by yourself. You don't ask for help from anybody else. For example, at work, my boss delegated a task to me. He told me, "This is your responsibility now, you have to do this. I'm sorry, I'm too busy, I can't help you with it." And I said, "That's okay, I'm fine, I can do it by myself. I can row my own boat." This idiom is not so common, but it's a great one to use at work to show that you are responsible and determined to take on new tasks by yourself. Repost this video and follow me on TikTok if you want to upskill your English. Here's today's daily idiom: to be set in stone. If you have taken a decision and it cannot be changed, or if somebody makes a new rule and everybody has to follow it, it is set in stone. For example, after we signed the contract with our new client, our arrangement was set in stone. So once we'd signed the contract, it was fixed and we couldn't change it. We often use this idiom in the negative to tell people something is flexible and we can change it. For example, I arranged a date for a meeting with my team, but I told them the time is not set in stone. I said 3 o'clock, but if we need to change the time, that's fine. Here's today's daily idiom: to burn your bridges. This means to ruin or destroy your relationships with people so that you cannot go back to being friends again. We can use it for business or in relationships. For example, our company was working with an external partner. We had very different ideas and lots of disagreements about how to do business together. In the end, we couldn't work together, but we didn't want to burn our bridges with them because we thought maybe in the future we could do business again. In terms of relationships, I used to have a colleague who was very unhappy with his job. He hated working for us. So when he quit, he decided to tell everybody how much he didn't like any of us. He didn't like his job, he didn't like my boss, and he was really direct and open. He really burnt his bridges with all of us, doesn't want to reconcile or be friends, and we don't really want to see him again either. Have you ever felt like doing that to your colleagues at work? Or has anybody ever burnt their bridges with you before? Today we've got 2 idioms for talking about things which are really easy. A no-brainer. A no-brainer is an obvious solution to a problem, something that you don't need to think very hard about. It's just a great way to solve the problem and you should just do it. For example, if you're looking for ways to make your lifestyle more healthy, it can be good to start with ideas which are no-brainers, really obvious choices to support your lifestyle, make it easier to look after your health. You could stop smoking. cut down on the amount of fast food or alcohol you drink. These ideas are no-brainers. They're obvious things that will definitely have a positive impact. A piece of cake. A piece of cake is a solution or a process or an idea which is really easy to follow. You don't have to think too much. Anyone could do it. In the past, if you lived in another country, it was very difficult to keep in touch with your family back home. Phone calls were very expensive and it took a long time to find somewhere that you could stay and speak to your family. Nowadays, it's a piece of cake. We have so much technology to help us. We can use video calls, things like Zoom or WhatsApp. It's really, really easy. In some ways, life in the 21st century is a piece of cake, right? But in other ways, maybe not. How about for you? Do you think things are a piece of cake now, or maybe not?